Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about debt repayment. In previous videos we talked about budgeting, emergency funds, things along those lines, and why those are important. Debt repayment is also important. You got to pay back your debts, and we have two methods here as the best way possible to do so, and my opinion on which one is going to be the best way. Just as a disclosure, I am not a financial advisor. I am not your financial advisor. I'm just a guy on YouTube who enjoys sharing his knowledge and wants to help some people out and get us all back into investing and making money. So let's get into it. The two methods that we're going to discuss today is the snowball method and the avalanche method. In the PowerPoint here, I did an example of each one, and with the numbers, there's going to be a lot of numbers, so bear with me on that. And I have 5 debts that we're going to pay down using each method. So there's going to be an auto loan, $35,000, 6% interest, 6-month repayment time frame, so 72 months total of $580.05, and you're going to pay total interest of $6,763.68 if you were to pay it back at the monthly payment. Credit card one, $2,500, 18% minimum payment, $60, 5 years, 6 months payoff. Total interest of $1,452.67. Credit card two, 5 grand, 26% interest, 120 minimum payment. It takes you 9 years, 1 month to pay off. Total interest of $8,448.15 to pay off that credit card. That is going to be more than the actual payoff. Credit card interest rates are kind of predatory when it comes to it. They let you borrow money, but at what cost, right? So credit card number 3, $7,500, 22% interest, minimum payment $160. Takes 9 years to pay off with a total interest payment. So this is $7,500 plus $9,776.39. I also put in a mortgage because I used averages for my area. So $80,000 was the average home value. So I did 10% down, $252,000 was the loan needed at 5.98% interest, minimum payment $1,987.63, 30-year note, and if you paid that off at that minimum, it would be a total interest of $290,746.27. Crazy, man. A lot of other people out there recommend a 15-year note and paying it down early. 30-year, pay it early. It all depends on what you can do and what kind of risk you can tolerate, and also what all you're wanting to put down. If you know you're actually going to be able to add more to that mortgage, you can do a 30-year, pay it down, get it out of the way in 10 years. So let's get into the first of the two method of paying these 5 back. We're going to do the avalanche method, which actually you pay off your highest interest first. So going back here, your highest interest would be your credit card number 2 at 26%, followed by number 3, 22, number 1 at 18, your auto loan at 6, and your mortgage at 5.98. So I kind of played around with the numbers a little bit to try to make it so that way they would actually be a different payoff schedule depending on which method you used. So we're going to use the exact same example for both. So you pay off credit card number 2 first due to the interest rate. We're going to make it so you're putting $500 additional a month to just paying down debt, which means you're paying all your minimums. You're not withholding minimums. You're actually paying all your minimums and then an additional $500. Once you pay off the first debt, you move all of that money you were paying towards that first debt to the second one. And that's how it becomes an avalanche or a snowball. So essentially, once it gets moving, it keeps rolling and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So you would pay $620 because it was a $120 minimum plus $500 for 8 months. And that puts you on month number 9 paying $595.05. So 9 months total, your first credit card's paid off. So then we're going to focus on credit card number 3 because that was 22% interest. You're going to pay $180 for the first 8 months, which once again, we're including all the minimums. And then you're going to pay $204.95 on month number 9 because the remaining of the rollover from credit card 2. So 620 minus 595.05 is going to be that difference of the $24.95. And then on month 10 through 18, you're going to pay $800 because it's going to be the 620 plus the 180 equals $800, right? On month 19, you only have to pay $577.10. So both credit cards, 2 credit cards, are paid off in 1 year and 7 months. Obviously, you increase the amount you can put per month. Instead of $500, $750, you move this whole time frame up pretty significantly. So the next credit card or next debt to repay is credit card number 1 at that 18%, right? So the first 18 months, you're putting the minimum towards it, $60, right? On month 19, you actually pay $282.90 because the rollover from what you didn't have to pay on credit card number 3 during that month. And then you pay $860 until month 21. So that's only 2 additional months, and your first credit card is paid off. So 1 year and 10 months in, 22 months total, you actually have all 3 credit cards paid off, right? And you only had to pay $109.40. So then you move on to the auto loan because that's actually your next biggest interest rate, even though it's 0.02%. If you're following the path and the Avalanche method, this is it. So auto loan, you pay $580.05 for the first 21 months. You pay $1,330.65 on month 22. And then on month 23 to month 40, you pay $1,440.05, which is significantly more than your actual minimum payment, which is the whole key to doing this. On month 41, you pay $137.26 and your auto loan is paid off. That now took you 3 years and 5 months at that $500. But you can see how it starts at 500 and then it goes 620 and then it goes 800 and then it goes 860, and now you're putting down $1,440.05 per month towards your car, almost triple your payment. That is just huge. You're saving so much on interest. It's just kind of crazy. That's why the debt repayment is a massive thing to get down and stay dedicated to and just knock it out of the park and get rid of it. You can start increasing your emergency funds. You can put money into savings, investing, retirement accounts, all that good stuff. But you got to pay down your debts first. So, mortgage. Now we're to the mortgage. You pay that minimum for the first 40 months, right? Then you pay the difference in between 137 and 1,440.05 is going to be the difference of 3,290.42. So your minimum. So on month 41, you paid $3,290.42. And then you max it out. So you're paying $3,427.68 until month 117. On month 118, you pay off your mortgage by paying $1,596.22. Now, in 9 years and 10 months, so we'll round it up, 10 years, you paid off your car, your mortgage, a 30-year mortgage, all your credit card debt, and all you had to do was come up with an extra $500 a month. On top of making all your normal budgeting, your purchases, your minimum payments, all that. But now you own your home, you own your car, you are officially debt free outside of the things you need to survive. Your total interest, if you made all the minimum payments, would have been $316,000. $316,000. Just let that sink in a little bit. by doing this method, the total interest you paid was $100,634.85. Most of that comes from your mortgage and the auto loan still, because you didn't start putting extra towards them until a little later on, but you were able to put so much more towards them by using this method. The total amount of interest saved is $216,000. That starts to become crazy. If you make your bare minimum payments and you have money left over, you need to start putting that money to work for you. Now you're talking that $3,427.68 can go towards whatever you want that next month. It can go towards family vacation. It can go towards retirement, savings, whatever it may be. All right. So now that we covered the Avalanche method and gave examples as to how it works and the consistency that it can do in paying off debt, we're going to move on to the snowball method. This is most people's preferred method. It's the pay off the smallest balance first. This gives you wins. It's psychological. You pay off that lowest debt first, and it tells you and it reaffirms in your own head, I can do this. I can pay off these debts. This can actually happen, right? So you're going to start with your lowest credit card. So $500 a month extra, just like we talked about. That's going to be towards credit card number one because there's only $2,500 balance. So you're paying $560 a month for 4 months. On month number 5, you pay $355.50, and that credit card's paid off. Once again, the little wins, right? So it's just kind of crazy that how much this can actually affect things and actually determine how far you can carry through with your debt payoff strategy, journey, whatever you want to call it. The odds of you paying off your debts and continuing with it when doing the snowball method over the Avalanche is actually pretty insane. It's a great strategy. So now that credit card number one's paid off, we're going to move to credit card number 2. You're going to pay $120 the first 5 months. Once again, you got to pay the minimums. You pay $324.50 month number 5. That's the remainder of what you have left over from when you paid off credit card number 1, right? And then $680 month 6 through 12. On month 13, 1 year and 1 month, you pay $429.35. So now 2 credit cards are paid off, and you're rolling all of what you were paying towards them, the minimums, plus the $500 into credit card number 3. You pay $180 for the first 12 months, $430 month 13, $860 a month 14 through 21. You pay $337.25 on month 22. That's 1 year and 10 months. If you notice the correlation to it, that's exactly how much it took to pay off our last credit card using the Avalanche method. But if you notice one thing, on that last month, you had to pay $337.25. The last month here, you had to pay $109.40. So it was actually a difference between those two numbers of how much you actually pay on that last month. So you're only talking about $216 difference. That's where the Avalanche is more the micromanagement. You know, you're making that little bit extra headway when it comes to paying off debt. So now that all your credit cards are paid off, we're going to move into the auto loan because that's the next smallest balance before the mortgage. You pay that $580.05 for the first 21 months. On month 22, you're actually able to double your payment, make it $1,102.80, and then you pay $1,440.05 for month 23 through month 40. And then on 41, you're paying $387.76. That takes you 3 years and 5 months, or 41 months. So we're going to scroll back up to auto loan here. So in the same 41 months, but you're paying $137.26 on the Avalanche method, and you're paying $387.76 on the snowball method. So once again, The difference is the micromanage. You paid a little less interest by following the Avalanche using these examples. The examples and what you actually owe are going to vary. So these are numbers that I kind of took averages and came up with. Then we're going to get into the mortgage. This is the final payoff for the snowball method. So you're going to pay that minimum payment for all the way through month 40. On month 41, just like the Avalanche, you're going to start paying that extra. So month 41, you're going to pay $3,039.92, upping it to that maximum amount of $3,427.68, all the way through month 117. On month 118, 9 years and 10 months, which is exactly the same time frame as the Avalanche method, you are actually going to be paying that off with $1,963.55. So focusing on that number right there, and then your final payoff here was $1,596.22. So you can see the little bit of a difference, right? Your overall difference in between the two methods over this 9-year and 10-month time frame is going to be $367.26. That's the only difference in between the two methods with these examples. Now, if you have a lot more debt, it may actually affect that interest that you save more. So if you are starting your debt repayment journey, you may want to take a look and see where you might be able to put a certain debt in front of another one to be able to kind of maximize how little you pay back and pay in interest. They make enough money. They don't need more of ours, right? So that was kind of the difference in between the two. Now, if you wanted to ask my opinion, whether it matters or not, if I were to have these debts, which one would I choose to pay off? Which method would I choose to pay off my own debt? And I would choose the snowball. Just like everybody else out there, I know micromanage, you actually save more money using the Avalanche. It's just the difference of that mental game and that mental fortitude that you have in being able to pay off these debts and those little wins. Paying off that first credit card bill and then being able to close that account if that's what you need to do, or not even have to open up that banking app or whatever it is after 4 to 5 months, that would be absolutely a win in most people's heads. And I think that's fantastic. And that's exactly what I would do. I would move through using the snowball method to repay my debts. If you got anything out of this video, if you learned anything, leave a like, subscribe. I'm going to have much more content coming out. Every little like, subscribe is going to help me out great. And stay tuned for the next video.